In 1996, 31-year-old Blair Adams fearfully fled Canada and entered the United States. Prior to fleeing, Blair nervously confided with a friend that he believes someone was out to kill him, though he never disclosed who or why. Days later, Blair was found dead in Knoxville, Tennessee. Blair Adams was a 31-year-old Canadian resident from Surrey, British Columbia. A typically cheery young man, Blair was a fun-loving, friendly individual who enjoyed the company of others. A foreman with a construction company, Blair was a hard worker who enjoyed his job and did it well. It wasn't until a few weeks before his death that people noticed a change in character. According to his mother, Sandra Edwards, Blair began having mood swings, and had suddenly become irritable and short-tempered. Sandra said, "Something was obviously very much the matter. He hadn't been sleeping well. Something was wrong. I asked him numerous times what was wrong. And he said, 'I don't think I should tell you about it.' And to this day I don't know what it is." On Friday, July 5, 1996, Blair's strange behavior became increasingly concerning. Blair withdrew his savings and emptied his safe deposit of more than $6,000 in cash and thousands more in jewelry, amongst other small valuable possessions. Blair made a plan to escape to the United States, specifically the state of Tennessee. On Sunday, 2 days after he withdrew thousands of dollars, Blair attempted to enter the United States, but was denied passage as he fit the profile of a drug trafficker, a young, single male with a large amount of cash and valuables on his person. Upon returning back home, Blair quit his job, and collected his last check. That afternoon, Blair spent $1,600 of his savings on a round-trip airline ticket to Frankfurt, Germany, where his girlfriend currently lived, though she wasn't expecting him. Blair met her when he had been employed at his stepfather's construction company near Frankfurt in the year prior. While his girlfriend described him as a loving gentleman, a man he worked with described him as abrasive and confrontational, and was occasionally involved in fights. It was becoming clear to Sandra that her son appeared to be running from something or someone. But when questioned about his behavior, Blair would evade her questions, withholding any information that would be useful in helping her save her son from his fears. Blair's last interaction in Canada would be with a friend. Blair had arrived to a friend's house unannounced, clearly in great distress. Blair fearfully revealed that someone was trying to kill him, but again refused to say anything further. If Blair ever mentioned anything about a particular individual or individuals he feared, it was on very few occasions. Blair once told his girlfriend and another friend that he dreaded his former co-workers returning from Germany because he believed they, too, wanted to hurt him. Blair's flight to Germany was to leave the following day after he purchased his ticket, but Blair still had his sights on Tennessee. On Tuesday, Blair turned in his tickets, rented a vehicle, and this time was successful in entering the United States. Blair first arrived in Seattle, Washington, where he purchased a one-way ticket to Washington, D.C. For unknown reasons, Blair purchased a $770 for a ticket where he could have purchased a round trip for a cheaper price of approximately $350 to $400. Blair arrived to D.C. early Wednesday morning and traveled to Knoxville, Tennessee, more than 500 miles southwest. Witnesses first saw Blair at a Knoxville gas station around 5:30 p.m. Blair complained to the gas station attendant that his car wouldn't start, to which the attendant told him that he had the wrong keys. They searched for the car keys together, both around the premises and through the windows of the vehicle, but they were nowhere to be found. The gas station attendant pressed Blair to search his pockets, but according to the attendant, Blair adamantly refused. The rental car company had already closed for the day, and Blair would be stranded in Knoxville until the following morning. Blair was, however, able to hitch a ride to the closest motel. Tickle Hartsfield, an employee at the hotel, remembered Blair well, saying, "The best way to describe him would be paranoid. He just was very nervous, agitated, expecting someone to come in on him even though there wasn't anybody there. I don't know who he was looking for, but he was waiting for somebody to walk in for him." The motel's security cameras caught that, in the span of an hour, Blair went in and out of the lobby 5 times before he finally paid for a room. After checking in, Blair put the room key in his pocket, but rather than going to his room, he exited the motel through the front door and never returned. It was 7:37 p.m., and that was the last time Blair would be seen alive. Approximately 12 hours later, Blair's body was discovered in a parking lot about half a mile from the motel. Blair was nude from the waist down, his shoes were off, his socks were turned inside out, and his shirt had been torn open. Scattered around Blair's body was $4,000 in American, Canadian, and German currency. There was also a small sack that contained Blair's material valuables such as gold and jewelry, estimated to be worth $2,000 total. The Toyota car keys that Blair claimed to have had been missing were also discovered 10 feet away from his body. Blair picked up a separate pair of car keys from another rental company. According to the autopsy report, Blair had sustained many cuts and abrasions, but the cause of death was ultimately determined to be a violent blow to his abdomen that ruptured his stomach. A weapon, likely that of a club or crowbar, sliced his forehead open. Signs showed that Blair put up a fight as his hands were beaten and bloodied as if he held them up in his defense. In his fist was a long strand of someone's hair, the only significant piece of evidence found at the crime scene. Certain injuries indicated that Blair was sexually assaulted, but no DNA evidence was found, and it was unclear as to when the assault occurred. Although Blair struggled with substance abuse and addiction in the past, his family and friends claimed that he had been sober for 2 years prior to his death, and there were no signs of drugs or alcohol in his system. There was, however, remnants of lettuce, meat, and shrimp in his stomach, indicating that he had eaten after he exited the motel, though there were no sightings. Though there is a history of mental illness in Blair's family, Blair himself had never been officially diagnosed with any mental illness. The only person who reported any suspicious activity prior to Blair's death was a security guard from a nearby business who claimed that he heard an abrupt scream from what he believed to be a woman's voice around 3:30 a.m. Blair, according to his family and investigators, are puzzled as to why Blair chose Tennessee of all places, because while he had connections in Germany, he didn't know anybody in Tennessee, and questions as to what led him there remain unanswered. Theories range from sex act gone wrong, to a coincidental attack, and that Blair's paranoia was caused by a mental break, or that Blair was right, that someone actually had been after him, and succeeded. 22 years later, Blair's death remains a mystery.
Weird that they don't know where he ate. How many restaurants within walking distance of the motel served shrimp?
This case has all the hallmarks of someone struggling with a mental illness. But I can't wrap my head around the fact that Blair's body was found with money and precious metals, leaving robbery as a motive out the window. As well as his pants and socks pulled down as if someone was trying to pull his clothes off. Ever since I saw this originally air on this case has perplexed me.
A ruptured stomach wouldn't be instantly fatal. So, he is behaving erratically and gets in fight. Afterwards he staggers off. He is having pains in stomach, so tries to remove the pressure on his stomach by emptying his pockets and unbuttoning his pants. It wouldn't have been a peaceful death. He still has his valuables because robbery wasn't the motive. The persons he got into the fight with probably don't even know he died.
There was a truck stop near where he was found that was a hotbed for prostitutes. One of the investigators believes he was in a car when the assault started, and then was struck by the car. Apparently one of his hands looked like someone who had fallen off a motorcycle. Authorities had also noted he had cuts on his hands when he tried to hop the border illegally and seemed dazed. They also found him near a ditched stolen car that was blue. A friend said she saw him earlier in a blue car, not his Chevette. The money and gold wasn't scattered around, it was in his fanny pack. I can see the person who killed him freaking out and not checking. Initially I thought the most plausible explanation was someone who was very pissed off at him because it sounds like he was sodomized, and that's usually more personal. That and the cash and gold not being taken. Now I'm thinking the prostitution thing holds a lot more water. His mother said he was in town for the Olympics that occurred 8 days later. He was about 200 miles away and was having car trouble. Schizophrenic. Goes out to have sex with a prostitute, gets rough with her, or scares her, gets hit by her pimp, dies. They bail. I suspect DNA on the hair will track to a former sex worker. According to some things I've read, several months before his death Blair had to cut short a work assignment in Germany because of alleged involvement with an underage girl. If this actually happened, I'm wondering if there was some connection with his flight to Tennessee and his death.
What's your theory on what happened to Blair Adams? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening. You can find the original post through the link in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below to get more puzzling mysteries.